G'day guys. Been thinking, and that's a dangerous thing, isn't it? Thinking. And I re-evaluated everything I knew about the GPX series detectors. And I had a bit more of a deep dive, basically under the white paint, and looked at how things were done differently from the GP series. And I came up with some ideas, and I've put my ideas into practice. Now, what I'm doing now is everything I've learnt over the last 40 odd years doing these detectors, or doing electronics. I went back to basics. I went back to absolute basics and did everything from scratch. The way things are amplified, the bandwidth of the amplification, the filtering, everything I could think of in the signal path through the detector. And I think that I really have found a few roadblocks that should not be there. And if they are there in some cases, they should be a little bit softer the way they work. And when I mean softer, not to attack as hard as they do, trying to filter part of the signal out. So by doing this, I've discovered there's a lot more information gets into the detector from the target, and a lot more information from the ground. What I have discovered just with a couple of tests is that it improves the ground balance. It improves the ability to hear tiny signals. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. I've gone back to absolute basics on this, improving everything from literally from the wires going in from the coil plug onwards. Every section is being optimized. Now, I do some parallel op-amp configurations in these detectors as well. And I've been using very, very tight tolerance components, matching everything. So what I did, I said to myself, well, how about we match the actual ICs and make a batch that are absolutely matched in gain function and the way they handle a range of frequencies, and match them, because there are little variances. Then I went after the other components and I've matched them within 0.001%. Okay, so any signal coming in through various components is absolutely matched. It's a big thing to do. It's time consuming, but I've done it. And I did another board where I just allowed 1% tolerance components. And you think, oh yeah, there won't be any difference. Yes, there is. There's a huge difference, especially in noise figure. It made a huge difference. So now I'm redoing everything to tight tolerances all the way through the detector. I've also got some other new tricks I'm doing. I've reconfigured the variable gain board. I've had a look at the way that the variable frequency is done, and I've actually looked at that. Even though it's dead stable, there's no movement, there's no jitter, that I've actually changed part of the circuitry to even make it more stable, basically changing its impedance to a lower impedance. So there's a lot of things being done, and I'm doing this on this GPX-5000. So when I finished with this GPX-5000, I think, and in my opinion, it will probably be the best detector that has ever been put together. This is going to be an absolute killer of a detector. I guarantee you that I will be able to pick up the most tiny, tiny, tiny gold. I'll be able to get rid of just about all the ground noise, right? And this is going to be a real eye opener. So you've got the tiny gold capability, you've got big gold capability, and it's going to be really, really good. Now, as a side note to all this, I found I found an old hard drive on the computer. Well, not on the computer, it is now, but it was in the drawer, and it has about 50 videos that I've made over the years that I never put on the internet. Going back to probably around about 1995 onwards, and there is field testing, there is bench work, and yeah, basically a whole lot of stuff. A hell of a lot of testing into the nitty gritty of the older detectors and some of the newer ones as well. Not like the 7000s and 6000s, not that new, but even up into 4500s, and yeah, there might even be some stuff on 5000 in there as well. But it's interesting. Even I had a flick through those videos. A lot of them, the bench ones, 5 and 10 minutes. The other ones, field work ones are probably a lot longer. And I was thinking, should I put them up on YouTube? Like I say, there's a lot of them, and yeah, some of the video quality is a bit iffy because it was done with like old Nokia, whatever 3310 type phones or whatever, and some of it's really, really good. Some of it, and some of the some of the innovation back then. There's one there where you'd laugh if you saw it. I actually have a GP 3500, which I've actually redone the EEPROM on, and I've put in enhanced timings, right, off a 45 into the GP 3500, and it does work. It doesn't work as well as on a GPX. It's not made for it. The 3500, the way it works, all the componentry, I'll just say it's a bit of a slug. It's not really made for very, very fast timings. The componentry's got high capacitance components, and that just stops the transition speeds, and it will cause a lowering of signal anywhere in the detector. Uh, it's like you put capacitors across anything to filter out ripple. Same thing. You can look at the signals coming into the detector as ripple, and you start putting capacitors everywhere, and it causes an issue. Actually, last night I did a SD2200D, and it was quite interesting. Uh, well, we basically put variable gain in it, and we put in newer amplifiers, and it's quite interesting. In one of the back stages, the way it was working, it was double. It was having like two signals, uh, two traces on the oscilloscope, one a little bit lower than the other, and it was quite interesting. And what it was the way the filtering was done further back in the detector that it was causing this issue. And at the time, this issue probably did exist, but there was a 1000 picofarad capacitor in part of the circuit where it's basically got a sort of it's like a filter. Okay, it's a little capacitor resistive filter on the input of an op amp, and yeah, it wasn't behaving. And I said, "Come on, what's going on here?" And yeah, I had a look at one of the schematics I drew out for one of these a while ago, and I took off this capacitor, and I just put a little bit of resistance loading to ground on this point and increased the gain. and it made a massive difference to the way the SD2200D worked. It was picking up the SD2200D on. I've got a big coil up there at the moment. I was running a cancel coil, and it's about that. Now on the cancel coil, I was getting the 0.05. Never before have I done that with a large coil with one of those older detectors, unless they're absolutely screaming like a bat out of hell, and then they have issues ground balancing. So we tried that out, and we'll see what the customer thinks of that. But that's going to be a ripper of a detector. It's amazing when you go back and look at the older detectors. Everyone, I tell you this game. Right? It's like cars, right? The new model. Freaking, they all go from A to B, and some of the old ones beat the pants off the new ones. So, it's probably just a lot of it's just a status thing, look at me, I've got a new car, you know, the same with detectors. Um, oh, look at, it's got this and that, and it's new, and here, look at all these nuggets we found. All that propaganda, and it's just to entice you to go and spend big money on new stuff. Where in a lot of cases, the other stuff will probably work just as well. Uh, yeah, there are differences. If you just get the bog stock standard detectors and compare them with the new stuff, well, the new stuff will work better. But what happens when you get the old stuff and you get, say, an old car, and you go and stick a blower on the motor? It's going to develop a hell of a lot more horsepower and probably beat a lot of other newer stuff. Same thing with these older detectors. Well, that's not an old one, but with the older detectors, you can make them go really, really well. And with this 5000 here, this is going to, I will say, I'll put money on this. This will blow any other detector out of the water when it's set up with a similar coil size against the other detector. And I'm not talking about your coils this big, but it's got windings in it like this. That's cheating. That's like me saying putting a Sadie coil on and then doing the test side by side. You can't um, have different configurations and sizes of windings, because that is the crux of the matter. The winding uh, governs basically how deep and how sensitive it is to a target, and then it's how you amplify that signal and the clarity of that signal with the detector. You can't go and get one of these. Well, it's like you get a 0.05 or something, and you say, okay, I've got a 10 by 5 mono, and then I've got a 10 by 5 double D, and you put it on the ground. What's going to be more sensitive? The double D, because it's going between the two winding. And the other thing too is your coils are like two of them like this rather than one big one. So it's the distance from the target to the windings is your sensitivity on small gold. And when you run the windings really close to it, you could get a say GPZZ uh, 7000, okay, and you can say, wow, it's got this great big coil on it, but look at the windings in the coil. There's three of them, and so the windings are 1/3 basically the size. Anyway, that's enough on that. I will get into this, and let me know about what you think about me putting up all those older videos. Do you think it's a waste of time delving back into the past and bringing, going up into the future sort of thing? um, but they are fairly old, and I have changed phones and cameras. I think there's some videos there I actually used commercial broadcast cameras. I bought something that was it was a Sony broadcast camera. It was a tube camera, or it might have been. It was I can't remember the number. Anyway, I've done videos on repairing them before, But it might be well worth looking at if you are interested in going back and looking how things were done to the older detectors to get the performance up. I was looking, and there was some there where I was going along with test targets, and I was getting something like 4 centimeters, and it was noisy, and then I was getting 6 centimeters, and I made it quiet, stuff like that. So it could be interesting if you're interested. Let me know. Comment. If you don't comment, I'll probably, if there's not enough, well, basically, if there's not enough people interested, well, it's a lot of work to do, so I won't do it. But if you all say, yeah, go ahead, there's a fair few that want it done, I'll put it all up. It just depends, you know. I'm not doing it for my own benefit. It's for you guys, the guys who want to experiment and get the most out of their detectors. So, apart from that, I've got some lunches rolled up, which looks really good. I better eat it before the Ballarat cold here sucks all the heat out of it, and it turns into ice cubes. It's bloody cold here. Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's that one there on the bench. That's getting done. Uh, and I've had a damn rush with GPs all of a sudden. I don't know why it comes in bursts. I get a burst of 7,000s. I get a burst of 6,000s to do. I get heaps and heaps of GPXs to do. And now there's all these GPs, 3,500s, and even the extremes. And there's more coming. So yeah, I'm still busy, but I'm working on stuff as well. I was up to 2 a.m. Nutting out and going through the whole history of the GPX upgrades. And look, I'm just going to push the envelope on this stuff and just make it better and better and better. You can just keep going as new components come onto the market, and just a bit of R&D and research, and sometimes thinking right out of the box. So you can run a heap of gain on these detectors and the thing will saturate and it won't pick up gold. That's a big problem. People don't, well, what I had in the past is people don't realize to turn the gain back. They think, oh, well, I'm running this mode and I've got all this gain, I'll crank it up. And it's not, you're not getting anything. You actually take it back. But that's for different modes. In normal mode, you crank it flat out and away it goes. It's fine. Unless there's an area with massive amount of hot rocks, then turn it back. I think there's a lot more education that needs to be generated for people who, you know, who really want to push the most out of their detector. If it's like giving a new driver a you know a Lamborghini and say, here, go to the milk bar, go up the shops for me, and I guarantee you, wrap it into a tree. Um, you know, you just can't handle the power. You don't know how to control it. Same with a super booster detector. Don't crank everything right up. But what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to make it foolproof, okay? Because I'm sure that people have done it and don't know what they're doing. So I'm going to have it so it works in all modes. You can crank it right up and you're going to get maximum performance. So it's going to be a bit of some trickery to do that, but I can do it. I'm not going to go into how I do it because other people will start trying to actually copy that and incorporate it. But yeah, you'll see. Wait till I've got this done. I'll do some bench tests and then I'll go out in the field and do some field tests. And I guarantee you, it's going to be something you haven't seen before. This is going to be an absolute gobsmacking eye opener of a detector. Okay, because I'm going to put the time in and absolutely just completely modernize it. It's going to be an absolute doozy. I think it'd blow everything out the water. Okay, coil for coil size on any other detector. Um, and yeah, I'm willing to put money on it. This is going to be an absolute killer. Anyway, catches.